What's up, everyone? It's Robert from yaymath.org, and today I have the great honor to speak with fellow yaymather, math teacher, and principal Kimberly Evans of Washington Classical Christian School in St. Augustine, Florida. Hello, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, I am so glad to be here with you. I am definitely a fan, and it's just an honor to get to spend some time with you, talking about something that we both feel passionately about.
Definitely, yeah. What brought us together to share the story is that you received a message from yaymath's mailing list about my messy public breakup with traditional anxiety-inducing testing strategies that have been going on historically. Everyone knows this, that it's a problem and how it's not optimal for the kids, we could say at the least. And you started to share some of the practices that you do at Washington Classical Christian School, especially as both the principal there and a math teacher yourself. Could you just please share some of the ideas that you do with regards to testing at your school on behalf of your students?
One of the people that I have learned a lot from is an author named John Mays. He has written some science and math books as well. He is known in the classical world, not so much public school sector, but he does some great work. And the whole reason he rewrote the curriculum he rewrote was because he doesn't believe in the cram, pass, forget cycle. And that's one
What's
of
that?
the
I want to I
things.
want to I want to drill on that. Cram, pass, forget. That's the cycle that you're actively trying to avoid in your
Absolutely.
practice at the school. Wow, that's interesting.
Absolutely. Right. We know that math builds on itself. There are foundations that have to be in place. And so if something gets missed in the past, we're trying to build on this Swiss cheese foundation. And as math teachers, we know how that goes.
That concept of what you said, cram, pass, forget, is something that we just implicitly accept.
Mm,
And I
it
really
hurts.
like that you bring that to the fore. So could you speak to, let's say, some of the language that you use and your teachers and your students, your community, with regards to, let's say, assessing so that it can minimize anxiety and maybe recast it and re-stigmatize this concept of taking tests in general.
So in general, yes, we do give tests and quizzes at times, but along the way, it's so much better if we call a quiz a quick check or a quick quiz. A few well-formed questions will give the teacher a very good reading on where the student is at and what needs to still be remediated. So we are progress monitoring at all times. What we expect of our students is their best effort. Are they all going to make straight A's? No, they're not, but they're making progress and they're going to continue to work toward mastery. We have a goal in mind and picture it as a target. When you are aiming at a target, if you are in the field, you're doing very well. Some people will get bullseye right away. Good, you're ready to move on. Now let's take what you know and help your fellow student who isn't quite there yet. So it's always progress monitoring is the mindset. And goals, sure, we have learning goals, we have desired outcomes, and we do give tests and we do give quizzes, but more it's the message behind it. This is not do or die. This is let's find out where you're at and what we need to do in order to move you forward. We don't have teachers saying, there's a test on Friday. We're going to do a test on Friday. There's a whole difference to just the delivery of the message that there is going to be some form of assessment, right?
We're responsible for our tone as the students are. Uh,
Sure.
I mean, even the word test conjures anxiety in students.
Absolutely.
I love this idea of the target field, what you just
Mhm.
said, where you try to bring everyone into the field, and if you're in the field, great, and the goal is to get closer and closer. first of all, yeah, how do you transmit the concept of test to students without them shutting down or shutting off? And what do you use this image of the target actively with your educators at your school?
Yes, I do. I do use the image of the target actively with my team of teachers. We are a diverse population, so this isn't a school full of gifted kids. This is as diverse a population as any other school. We do use that idea under the concept of mastery, right? If you're aiming toward a target and you hit that goal, that target anywhere, you're aiming for that bullseye, you're in the field. And now we're going to figure out how to get you closer to the ultimate goal, which is the bullseye, right? It is a part of our whole school. We talk
I
about
love that.
mastery.
I love that. I love that because the students know this image as well. Are they thinking about the image?
Um, I'm sure the students have heard it, not that we've done it assembly style. I'm sure
Hmm.
I've talked about it in the classroom because it does become systemic. It's not something we formally present. What we formally present is the idea of mastery. How are we
Right.
doing towards mastery?
And how do you frame testing to students to minimize any potential anxiety that they may have?
Sure, sure. Some kids have anxiety because they're high performers and, oh, it's a test and they just want to do their best. It's a positive anxiety perhaps, but it is an anxiety. I do tell my kids, and I've heard other teachers share it as well. When you learned to walk, you fell down a lot. That's how you learned to walk, right? Learning anything is just like that. Human nature is we learn from our mistakes. So you're going to make mistakes along the way. Now, that's true when you're taking a test too. You might make mistakes, but we're going to learn from that. It's not the end. It's just taking a temperature along the way to see where we're at and what we need to do next.
I like
Do
this
they
idea
ever
of
get?
taking temperature. So when you say the test is taking the temperature, and when you say
Mhm.
a quiz is a quick check, do
Yep.
you frame? I like the language, by the way, and I like the alliteration as well. I don't know if that's on purpose. Quiz, quick check,
Of
test,
course, I'm a
taking
teacher.
temperature. Oh, yeah, of course, yes. This is this institution of academia. So we use alliteration. We got to make it snappy. So do you present it to the students as it not being make or break successfully, and how do you present that to students so that they don't just say, oh, this is just a language, like a quick, like a bait and switch, where it's like it's really a quiz masquerading as this quick check? How do you frame it to them so that it's a learning experience and something that they can grow from and thus
Right.
ultimately benefit from?
Okay. So I think it starts with understanding the weight to the total grade, because we do publish traditional report cards 4 times a year. Quizzes and small quick checks like that only will bear a 10% weight toward the student's final grade. The older they get, the more that matters to them, right? Our high school students and our dual enrolled students care about the weight of the different things. The elementary, they're trusting us and we help them along the way, and they don't really understand 10% as opposed to 40, that type of thing.
Hmm.
But our school grading scale has a weight of 10% on those quick checks, quizzes, that type of assessment. 40% on formal assessments, larger projects. And in fact, it says test/projects because not every assessment is a traditional pencil paper, let's see what you know in the abstract. And so that helps too. We have to define what an assessment actually is. I have had students reenact an entire book in a 7-minute play, and they got the message, and they didn't have to write anything. They understood the book. They understood why that was assigned to them. So it's mindfully deciding what is the outcome you want and what are the ways we can get there. So quizzes, 10%, assessments, 40%, tester projects. Classwork is 40%. This is a collaborative effort, and I need to see it in the classroom. And even the shyest, quietest one will have one partner they'll work with. And then the teacher needs to be aware of that, right? I'm not trying to change personalities. I'm trying to develop human beings. And then homework is 10%. It's plenty. It's plenty. The kids don't have to be afraid of one or two quizzes or quick checks that don't go well. In addition, as they move from what we call lower school in the classical model, kindergarten through 6th grade is lower school, 7th through 12th grade is upper school. As they move to upper school, we start teaching them to do their own item analysis, and they can remediate anything. If they will go back and demonstrate that they've learned from their mistake and they're willing to put in the work, that's all I wanted. The goal is still the goal is still the goal.
So if I can get this straight, within a single school year, let's say they're in the third quarter of their 10th grade, and they performed below the level that they wanted in the first quarter, they can remediate that and demonstrate that they've mastered the concept from first quarter and have that grade from the first quarter changed.
They can. That would take a great petition because they're supposed to be monitoring their own progress much more closely than that. So it really shouldn't carry over, maybe more than the first 4 weeks from quarter to quarter.
Okay.
And even I would call that, I would be concerned about the lack of interest on the student's part, that we
Right.
got all the way to report card time.
It's
And
interesting.
you saw, the house wasn't on fire kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially with our teachers constantly coaching and monitoring. We're very, very invested in each and every student. So I would be concerned for anything to go back that far,
Right.
but it's not impossible because what's the goal? The goal is mastery. I want them to understand the weight because I've got to prepare them to go out in the world where this isn't the case at this time.
Right.
If you mess
So
up on the job, you're going to have a meeting with HR.
you mentioned before about remediation. What is the process where students can remediate and demonstrate mastery, let's say, after the fact? I would imagine that that reduces some pressure on them. Well, could you explain how that plays out at your school?
Yes, and thank you for realizing that it does reduce the pressure. They've already known, they know when a student doesn't do well on a project, when a student doesn't do well on a quiz, they know when they walk away from that, finishing it, that where they're really at. They didn't do well, or they totally knew this thing and they're golden, right? They know before they get the feedback back. But what it does do for them is know that this isn't the end of the road. The end goal is that I learn this thing. And so our teachers are given a great deal of autonomy in how they allow the students to remediate, as long as whatever that method is still keeps that end goal in mind, right? For example, just in geometry class today, they had an algebra review on simplifying radicals. Perfect example for me to use because they hadn't seen it in a year and a half. We're on a block schedule, so the last time they saw any math was last year, and here we are more than halfway through this year. So really a year and a half, they haven't really worked with this concept. They needed a refresher. If I were to give a quiz on that and they didn't get it, they still need the skill of being able to simplify those radicals. That's what they need to learn to do. Not by Tuesday because it's Tuesday. They need to learn how to simplify radicals. They can go back with me. They can do more work. They can do a tutorial video. They can get maybe a yaymath assigned and follow through some more examples and then go into their book. No, for real.
Yeah.
Go into their textbook where there's a plethora of examples, exercises for them to work and show me, I've got it now. I've got it now. Well, you've got it now. Great. And your grade changes because you've got it now. You've mastered
I
it.
love that. I love that. I love the fact this is what teachers would really benefit from, the autonomy of being able to decide with their own sense of logic,
It's, Yeah,
we are equipped that you don't need to know how to simplify radicals by Tuesday. And if you
right,
actually know it by next Tuesday and you know it really well, then
really well.
the date of grading the student is arbitrary. And if the
Yes,
students understand that as well, then they actually are more liberated to just work and not let the pressure shut their brain down. I love this
yes,
practice, and
correct.
your teachers, I'm sure you could speak to this. I mean, do they respond to this level of latitude that you provide them as principal?
I'm going to say that I probably have the best team on the planet. I know that they're the happiest, most collaborative group I've ever experienced, and I myself do come from the public school sector. I spent several years teaching middle school in a local public school, and I stayed there thinking this is what you do, until I was called to this position, and I learned to appreciate the latitude. I really had the freedom to spread my wings there. I also wanted to give that opportunity to our teachers, and I do believe that they're thriving under it. In addition to myself here at the school, who came from a public school background, about a quarter of my staff came out of the public school system here in one of the greatest school districts in the nation. St. Johns County School District has a long-standing reputation as a public school district, for being an extremely effective school district and highly performing. However, it has gotten to be the same thing in all school districts. There are mandates. You will give this standardized test, and you will do these progress monitoring along the way, and you will teach this curriculum with these exact standards on this mapping. And it's almost as if really teachers are now delivering scripts instead of being able to operate in the craft of teaching.
I
Right.
love that. I
So
love that.
help
Right. You're delineating between teachers giving scripts versus
yeah.
teachers in craft. That's nice. And to me, um, even though you are participating in what is the classical model, I believe that permeating through this is an act of leadership. And what you're doing is you're being a leader on behalf of your teachers, who are leaders on behalf of their students, to empower the teachers to do what is best for them. And this form of common sense remediation in the moment, that level of
Mhm.
latitude, the teachers will shine with their craft. I love that. Let's talk more about the language,
They
because
do.
in our messages you talked about, you do have a week of testing at your school, which is, part of the state law, I understand. But
Yes.
you call it, I don't want to say, I want you to say it. You have the courage and and the mojo to call it something else. So I want you to say what you call your testing week. And then could you just please paint the picture of what your school does during this week? Like, set the scene and put a picture in our minds about what you do at the school during this week.
Great, absolutely. I will preface painting that picture with sharing with you the top two questions at our annual orientation, which happens before school starts and during the first week of school, are: when is the Blueberry Farm field trip? It's a big family day around here. And when is celebration week? Celebration week is what they call testing week. The kids dubbed it. And it really is a celebration around here. First of all, that's the what we hope to see out of it. And we are celebrating the effort they've made all 35 other weeks of the school year. So it is a celebration. We tell our kids, this is the time for you to shine by doing your best and forget the rest. They're taking a test they've never seen. Yeah.
Doing your best and forgetting the rest. I was nodding so hard, my nose hit the microphone. Doing your best and forgetting the rest. Go on,
Absolutely.
go on. What else do you
Absolutely.
do? Yeah, I'm lapping this up. Go on. What else do you do?
Absolutely. There's a great deal of buy-in and family parent participation at our school. During celebration week, our families get together and make breakfast for our kids every day of the week. Every day they come to school, they have a different breakfast buffet laid out before them. The first hour of school is just fellowship and eating good food that their parents are serving to them, which is wonderful. And other than the testing sessions, we spread them out so that nobody is, road weary from test session 1 to go into test session 2 with the doom and gloom of test session 3 hanging over their head all in one day. We have the latitude to test this spread out over a week, and so we spread it out over the week. They might do 1 or 2 sessions in any one day, and there are breaks in between. For our younger kids, we're by law required to test kids starting in the 3rd grade, which to me, they're still such babies at that age.
Yeah.
But to me, I just, but it is what it is. We have to do it, and we comply, and we provide the data. At any rate, they are young. They will do, and there's more. Okay, when they do a test, they might do 1 session, and then they're going to go outside and play for an hour before they even think about looking back at another session. Of course, they still have lunch, they still have their snack breaks, they still have the routine parts of the day to keep it as normal, because that consistency is important for them as well. They know what they can expect. Dismissal is going to happen on time. Nap time is going to happen on time. Our kindergartners, 1st graders take a nap every day. So there are things that we do to keep it the routine and keep it a comfortable, safe place that they're used to being in. And then there are these extra things, the breakfasts every day. And in addition to that, we read a study as a team quite some time ago about the beneficial effects of peppermint. Settle your stomach. And so they have unlimited, the little starlight peppermints. They can have them on their desk and have them all day long, whenever they're in a testing session. If they want to eat them one right after the other, they may during testing week. And same thing is true for chewing gum. They're allowed to have chewing gum while they're testing. Some
Wow, so
kids
that's a
really
nice little hack
that
there.
gum.
That's a nice hack.
Yeah.
I've definitely, yeah, I've heard about peppermint tea, so I know that that
Mhm.
helps digestion, but you forwarded it to peppermints during testing and gum, which is also an act of
Yeah.
trust that you're extending to the students by
Sure.
communicating to them, these are for you. We trust that you're going to participate in the most elevated way with these.
Right.
It creates a bond, and it's looking out for them. That's a cool little hack. Peppermints. Students, get ready to have some peppermints. I kind of want to take a test right now if I'm going to get breakfast and a bunch of mints after. Um, I I
Right.
I might have to come over and sharpen my number 2 pencil. What?
Oh, we provide them. You don't
Oh
have to
yeah.
remember anything.
Right. Oh,
Show up, do your
I'm
best, and forget the rest.
I'm old school like that. I forgot my pencil. Uh, Um, Let me ask you this. So can you talk
Sure.
about what what the students are saying? Could you What's their reaction to this when they talk to you about celebration week in place of what is traditionally called test week? What do they say to you? What's their feedback been?
Right. So the best measure is the students who came out of a public system where they didn't have that. They had testing week and they had progress monitoring. It's also called that in the local district at times, that they felt was very high stakes. In fact, not so many years ago, if a 3rd grader didn't perform to a certain level on the state test, they were retained automatically. I understand the idea of gatekeeping, but I think that that can be devastating because you're talking about changing the trajectory of a child's education because of one assessment. That seems so patently unfair to me. So there, I said it.
Agreed.
At any rate, So the students who had come out of the public school testing and now come here and their first experience is overhearing somebody say celebration week, and they're, what is that? So then we start the conversation. They're like, wow, you mean, and the mantra is, do your best, forget the rest. We explain fully what a standardized test is. And so they understand that, somebody in Ohio taught that type of question, but it wasn't required in Florida, but you're all taking the same test. The biggest positive effect we see is with those public school kids, because they come here and they go, I can't believe this. This is how testing should be.
That's what
They
they
say it,
say. That's what they say. This is how
this
testing should be.
this is how testing should be. If we're going to do a standardized test, it shouldn't feel like, I'm about to walk to the guillotine. It shouldn't feel like that.
That's
It
how
should
they
feel
feel,
like,
isn't it? That's how they feel, even if they don't express that. Um, they maybe even
I'm
feel that
afraid that,
subconsciously they feel that.
well, one of my very dramatic 10th graders said that, walking to the guillotine feels,
Yeah.
having to go take that test and perform. And I said, to the high school students, I've said many times, if you're college bound, you are going to take some tests that are standardized. The SAT is going to measure you. And the thing is, even that, you can take it more than once. I encourage them to take it once just to see what it's like. Don't go in cold, see what it's like, then take it for real, to have the opportunity to apply yourself the best you can. You've cut the boogeyman down to size,
Kimberly, what you're
get the idea.
doing, you know what you're doing? Listening to you, you're doing the hard work of leveling with these students.
Yeah.
When you level with the students, even your tone, you said you're going to take tests that are standardized. How you went with a little tone there. That is such a
Yeah.
human communicative um, tool to
Mhm.
communicate that, and that this test will be taught, will be given in Ohio, it'll be given in Florida, it'll be given in California, and certain problems are given in certain ways, and just because one school understands it and the other doesn't, that's okay. You're not walking to the guillotine. These types of messages is
Mhm.
so connective. That's the hard work. You have to stop and communicate to them instead of just blindly handing out the scantrons or the computers. And I think that's where
Right.
the rubber meets the road, is this constant feedback loop that you're communicating to the students and speaking to their fears directly. And then the only result to that is what you said. They said, this is how testing should be. I just,
Mhm.
I really admire that. I admire that so much.
I love that we have the latitude to do that. Now, please don't get the impression that anything goes. Like I said, there is structure
Mhm.
to testing week. One of the things that I had to limit, for example, just to give a real live example,
Yeah.
during testing week is they're not gonna have pajama day. We are a school that wears uniforms. They're gonna come to school in uniform. So there's still we're coming to school, mindset, and the culture of this school is still firmly in place. So it's really delivering an entire package, and you've got to be very mindful of all of that. I don't know, have you ever had those spirit weeks or pajama days?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sure you've seen every interpretation of pajama day
Yeah.
or spirit weeks.
Yeah, the pajamas are a very unique fashions choice. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right. And so that fun is for a different time. And during testing week, there are going to be the culture of the school is still in place. Our ethics are still here. We operate by what are called the godly standards. The 7 rules of conduct, one of which is work hard. And I remind them of that. You do your best and you forget the rest, but we still operate by the godly standards. We work hard. But again, I think it does go back to the culture and the fact that this is a
Right.
safe place to make mistakes and that we're working toward goals, and we realize it's a growth process. So it all does go hand in hand.
Right. So yeah, yes. I spoke of communication is what you and your teachers do for the kids, creating that open line of communication. And that speaks to leadership. And what that really is based in is culture. Absolutely. Yeah. If you can
Yeah.
cast a culture at your school with regards to how we look at testing, then anxieties and fears can drop and best performances can shine. And one of those cultures, like you said, is hard work. It's not anything goes. It's we're here for you. Do your best, forget the rest, and
Yes.
we're here to work. Um, so
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. Principal Evans, how can people get in contact with you?
Oh, awesome. Well, our school is actually on the web. Washington Classical Christian School is at washingtonccs.com. The direct school information is there, but my email is really easy as well. It's K Evans, my first initial and last name, KEVANS, at washingtonccs.com. And I do believe in open dialogue, and I'm happy to talk with anybody. Ask me the tough questions. You might encourage me to examine something closer and improve it.
Thank you so much for your time. This has been a blast. I appreciate listening to you and learning from you. And I just want to thank you on behalf of teachers everywhere for being that beacon, boots on the ground principal and teacher and leader, setting a
Mm,
culture for positive experiences with regards to testing and redefining that on behalf of your community. That's such a big deal. And I'm just so happy to listen and learn from you today. Thank you.
my goodness. Well, thank you. That was so much. Um, I can't tell you how honored I really am to get the opportunity to chat with you. I've been admiring from afar for quite some time, and it was just a joy for me to get to talk to you today. I would be remiss and say if I didn't say that principals are kind of middle management, so I must give accolades to my leadership too, right? I have a
Yeah.
board that I answer to, and I have supervisors who care to give us that latitude and monitor us and coach us and guide us. And so the school is the students who walk through the door, but it's also all the way up to the directing offices that it
Well,
makes
I'm
it
sure
work.
you're right. I'm sure you're right. I don't discount that, but I'm still putting that spotlight right on you. So, uh,
You're so
thank
sweet.
you. Thank you for
You're
that.
so
Can I
sweet.
get it? Can I get a yay math from you?
Oh, I've been waiting for this. Yay, math. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.